Hello, everybody. Welcome to another lovely episode of Tough Talk Tuesday with the Heavy Bag Boxing Team, the real Heavy Bag Boxing Team. As usual, I'm your host, Robert Alexander. Alongside me tonight will be Lucas Biggers, the captain of the ship,
How you
the
going?
First Lady, Shakira Armstrong, and always on time, Javier, or better known as Javi.
Sorry, guys.
Guys, this is our end of the year review. I know it's 2021 already, but we want to go ahead and break out in our end of year review for 2020 last year. First, before we go into these topics and to these awards, though, let's get everything off our chest that we want to get off to so we can have a good start. We got to talk about the first official fight in 2021, Ryan Garcia. Lucas, he was taking on Luke Cool Hand Campbell. I believe didn't you pick Campbell to win this fight? Or
No, we didn't
or
do picks. I don't think I would have picked him to win, but I think it was going to be a little bit more competitive than what people were giving it. Sure, but no, I definitely didn't pick him to win.
all right, so we'll start there then. Shakura, what are your thoughts on this fight, on this performance for Ryan Garcia? There's a lot of chatter going on right now in the atmosphere.
I mean, I'm very happy with his performance. It's one thing for someone to say that they want to be a king, like King Ryan, but it's another thing to get in that ring and get knocked down and get back up, and then go on to win a fight. So for me, I'm not like a lot of people that's just picking out this that was wrong and that was wrong and this and that. All these lightweights right now, they're pretty even as far as being young and still coming up the ladder. And I think that people are putting a lot of pressure on these guys when they need to be, still cultured and moved up in gradual steps. So I was really happy with Ryan's performance, and he showed me what I needed to see as a fan, which is that, is this somebody that I can count on that's going to still get back up when things don't go your way, so that was my main thing, and the main thing that I was happy about in the whole fight is just the fact that he got back up and then went on to win the fight.
Well,
Now,
I wrote an article about it. Please check it out. Heavybagboxing.com should be the first article there. But I, you know, yes, we have to say he did pass a test in the test of the heart. A lot of people thought he was going to be like a Victor Ortiz. Once he got hurt, he's just going to be like, I'm done, I'm out of here. So I do give him credit for that. However, we do have to point out, because if we don't, we're not really doing anybody any good. I mean, who's going to tune into the show? We're just like, hey, good job, buddy. No, we got to point out the flaws. We got to point out some things. And, he has some glaring flaws. And like I said in the article, I really thought by now, guys, and Javi especially, I thought that they would have had corrected the problem with him pulling out with his chin straight up in the air.
Mm.
To
so
be honest, we were just talking about that at the gym today because the kid is like, I think the coach said something about you can make a habit in 3 days, but it will take you more than 21 days to break it or something like that. I don't know if I'm saying it wrong, right? So I see some improvements. And yeah, that I think that thing will linger around with him a little bit more until he start perfecting his craft a bit more. But I'm with Sakura, man. He answered some questions. To be honest with you, I think he's living up to the hype, outside the ring. And the kid behaved, and he had that look in his eye like a true champion. And once you see that in a fighter, especially that young, man, you know that he's going some places. Now that body punch, though, man, that was crunchy. That was crunchy, man.
It looked
yeah,
like something off Mortal Kombat. I could have swore I saw like an X-ray view of his ribs breaking. As
Yeah.
yeah, you know what though? Lucas raises a great point there. And Javi, you touched on it as well. It's a habit. and habits are very hard to break. I actually thought during the duration of the fight, though, he kind of did his best to break that habit. He was caught good. He got caught good. He hit the canvas. He came back up. I felt like he was caught with a few punches afterwards, but nothing nowhere near the effect as that first punch. And he adjusted. He adjusted very well to it, and he wasn't as aggressive. There was one other time late in the rounds where he did go too aggressive, and even Canelo chimed in and said, "Calm down," and he immediately calmed himself down, got his bearings about him, and he let the knockout come to him. And that's what you want to see in a fighter that age. And that's what you want to see as far as the habits being broken. I feel like Victor Ortiz is very to compare him to Victor Ortiz is really should be thrown out the window at this point because he proved that he's no Victor Ortiz. Okay, Victor got caught in the jaw, it was broken, he quit in the fight. This kid got caught in the jaw, he came back up, he won the fight. But not only he did that, he adjusted to it, and that's what people's not getting credit to that regards. He really adjusted to it and took over that fight.
Now, I think he can do that, against Luke Campbell. He was able to do that. Now, the question is he's calling out people like Tank, Devin Haney. Can he do that? Can he overextend his combinations? Can he pull out with his chin straight up? Can his footwork be lackluster? No, he's got to be on point for all of these things, guys. So, in my mind, he does need some fine-tuning before he starts taking on these kind of fighters, before he starts calling these guys out.
I mean, that may be true. That may be true. But for me, I always feel like I want to hear something after these fights that makes me feel like you want bigger fights. Like, I wasn't down with the Errol Spence situation where he's talking about frolicking on the ranch with horses. You know what I'm saying? I need for you to be like, I'm coming after you guys. I want Tank still, and I still want, I still want Devin Haney, and hell, I want everybody. Those were his exact words. Like, hell, I want everybody. So, like, I mean, you need to have that if you're gonna stay a part of the boxing game, as far as having fans be on board for your next bout, whenever that may be. I mean, should Spence take a long sabbatical and have time with his family and everything? Of course, sure he should. But I don't need to hear that as a fan. I need to hear that you're ready to, like, face some stiffer competition and, go on with your career, and not be lackadaisical about things. So I felt that was the right situation to do. Now the question is, does he believe it or not? Does he believe that he's ready to go in there and just right now fight a Tank or a Devin? I don't know if he really believes that. It sure looked like it to me, guys, but it looked like he believed it. But at the same time, it's like, you never know if they behind the scenes, they're like, yo, kid, I know you're on a high right now and everything, but let's see what the next move should be for you strategically, because we don't want you to get up there and have a Tank fight or a Devin Haney fight and you're not ready.
Yeah. But we gotta also be real, and honestly, Sakura, I think you will back me up on this. He's not ready for those types of fights, is he? In your mind?
I don't think so, man. I think.
I mean, it depends on which champion we're talking about. To me, it depends on which boxer we're talking about in that lightweight division. Is he ready for a TO? I would say no. Is he ready for a Haney? I would say no.
Is he ready? He's absolutely ready. Okay, I can't take it no. He's absolutely ready.
He's
absolutely ready.
I'm just simply saying, to me, ain't none of these guys really ready like they would be if they were real Four Kings. I mean, when we're talking about comparing these guys to the Four Kings, I'm not for it, guys. And here's the reason why. By the time all of these boxers that were included, these legends were included in a four king scenario where they're competing against each other. They had already had seasoned careers a little bit. They had proven some things. They had gone through some tough fights. That's when they started fighting each other after that. But what we're seeing right now is all these young guys, and everybody's excited about there being that much talent at one division. Don't get me wrong, I am right there with them. I'm for it. But we all are trying to move all four of these guys, five, if you ask me, because I will include Shakur Stevenson in that. I mean, it's just a matter of time. So I would say that all these guys that they're trying to like put into these scenarios of competing with each other, they may not be just ready yet. And I don't know why we're trying to rush this situation. I want that Tank fight, yes. I want that Devin Haney fight, yes. But I want it when they are all at their peak. I wanted to see it when they're all ready for that type of, they're 100% ready for that. I don't want to see it now.
That's what I was kind of getting at. I think, he can be ready. I just don't think he's there yet. I think he still needs some fine-tuning before he takes on those fights. Let's see. We got some comments here. Mark Anthony says, Ryan grew up in this fight for sure, but to think he could beat Tank, the kid needs to sit back and get off the high he is in. I think Haney would be the better fight for him to win. I think Haney's definitely a safer bet for him to take, but at the same chance, I wouldn't even chance that right now. I still think he needs to, take some time, take some tune-ups, work on some things before he jumps in the fight with Devin Haney. Don't get me wrong, okay? Ryan Garcia has all the intangibles. And like I said in my article, I mean, he does have speed, charisma. You can't teach those kinds of things. However, he is lacking the things that we're talking about. I mean, his defense is not great. He can be pretty flat-footed. And his knowledge of when to put on the pressure is a little scary, because if he starts doing that stuff and overextends those combinations against a guy like Tank or Haney, they're going to make him pay a lot more than Luke Campbell. And don't get me wrong, Luke Campbell's a great fighter. But when he has stepped up so far in competition, he has lost.
Well, they all have flaws. Tank showed severe flaws against Leo. Leo was able to hit him with too many combinations. The only reason why he was able to take him out was because he was able to take that punishment, come in, and knock him out. Okay? That was very well a fight that if it would have stayed going the distance the way that it was going, Tank would have been in severe trouble, especially in the later rounds. Devin Haney barely put away Gamboa. Okay? There's serious flaws in his because he doesn't have the aggression Ryan Garcia has. Tank.
It's still kind of hard to tell exactly, there's a couple of things that we just don't know is factors. I mean, was Devin Haney a little less urgent because he knew he was in there with someone older that he was probably going to have his way with? Yes, he should have been impressive, but is also COVID coming into play for some of these fights too, where there's no audience or no big audience? I mean, we just don't know. Like, I mean, are these serious flaws? Like, was Tank just taking some of those shots from Leo because he knew he could? Because Leo's not known for his power. Like, there's a lot of questions with all of these guys at that lightweight division.
So that's my point, Shakur. Why not let them fight each other? There's questions on all of them. They're absolutely at the same level. All of them are fighting at the same level right now. Let them fight each other, because if they're not going to fight each other, who else? We're just going to keep seeing these fights to build them up and build them up and build them up. And then we go into the issue of money and negotiations. And then you get a fighter like a situation into like where it's Terrence Crawford versus Spence. No, they want to fight each other. They need to, and they need to prove their worth.
You do have a great point there. I just want to see the best fight in all of them when they go up for this type of competition. Because if you lose badly in one of these step-up fights that they're trying to have, that's a recipe for a career that may not jump back or, be able to recover well. And if we're making these guys fight each other and face each other way sooner than they need to. To me, the only one that has more urgency is Tiafimo, and that's just because he's growing out of the division. I mean, that's just the frank point of it. If you can have a guy like Duran be at lightweight for 15 years, it's really not a situation where why are we rushing these guys in 2 years? Some of them we're rushing in a year. I just don't see why we can't still. We just saw him step up a level, Ryan Garcia in specific terms. We saw him step up a level. We saw what he had and what he needs to work on. Now he needs to go work on those things. And that means that you got to get in that ring and be able to work on those things. You're not just going to work on those things in sparring. I mean, those are some things that you need to figure out inside the ring.
Yeah, but you're not.
That's a big fight for him still with Luke Campbell, guys. And, sometimes when you step up on that level, nerves get you, all kinds of things happen to you in a situation like that. So I feel like he needs some more experience
before taking on
somebody before taking on the prize fighters of that division. Correct.
Well, then then the question is where do they go then? Because basically at this point all you're talking about is delaying a big fight just to see him continue to beat up these guys that we know they can beat. That being said, Malachi is joined tonight with us. Malachi, he's from Danger Zone Boxing Talk. Malachi, I'd love to get your take on this Ryan Garcia fight. Just give us your reaction to it, how you felt he did, and where you feel he's at in his career.
I thought he did well. He did better than I thought he was going to. I thought the fight would go the distance. After he got knocked down, I didn't know what to expect. I got to give him credit for getting knocked down, getting back up, and fighting back. He gave a strong performance after the knockdown. I still don't think he beats any of the top lightweights. He comes in on a straight line. He keeps his chin straight in the air. He has a lot of defensive issues that he better get straight before he even thinks about taking on a Teofimo Lopez or Tank Davis. I still think Devin Haney outboxes him, but he did answer some questions for me, and I do like his potential. I think Golden Boy's going to protect him as much as they can because him and Virgil Ortiz are all they got left.
That's a fair statement. That's honestly a fair statement, and you're right with that promotional company. But according to Oscar De La Hoya, Ryan Garcia is the best fighter out there, aside from Canelo Alvarez. But that's the promoter talking. Guys, you want to go ahead and let's go ahead and get into these review of 2020 now.
I don't know, man. I got a sneak peek of kind of what you did on Malachi's show, and I
don't know. But more to come on that. So let's start off with the topics. As you can see on your screen here, they should be scrolling down at the bottom for you to see our categories here for 2020. We're going to start it off. Guys, first and foremost, it was COVID last year. It did affect the sport tremendously. We only seen our fighters fight one time, if at all. That being said, there were a lot of fights there that we did see. So let's start the category off with your take on fight of the year. I can start us off, and I think that a lot of us will have the same fight in it, but I went with Zapata versus Baranchik.
Baranchik, yeah. Baranchik. Yes.
Baranchik. Sorry.
Zapata Baranchik, I think there's not really another one that I can put up there. I think that one should take it hands down.
That was mine. Shakura, what is yours?
Anybody else got?
Yeah, mine was the same. Zapata, like I said before, he never disappoints me. He always gives an action-packed fight. I actually thought at the beginning of that fight it was going to be like one-sided, And then we started seeing all of these different knockdowns and comebacks, and it was just amazing. So yeah, that one would be my fight of the year.
Javi,
Which one? The best knockout of the year, 2020?
fight of the year,
Fight of the
buddy.
year. Man, that was a good one. Uh, can I choose? I'm gonna choose two. On the technical side, I will go with Lomachenko and Lopez, and on the devastating knockout, I will go with the Tank Davis. But yeah, the fight was between the Cepeda versus Baranchik, and there was another one too at the beginning of the year that I like. I forgot. I mean, it can come up to head, but yeah, I will go with that one.
So if you're talking beginning of the year, are you talking Franco, the upset with Franco and Malone?
No.
Okay.
I was talking. I would say I like you're talking about like the fight of the year, action packed. I would probably will go with the YouTubers, Logan Paul and KSI.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, Malachi, go ahead, Malachi. Fight of the year, legitimate fight of the year.
I'm in agreement with everyone else. I think it was Zepeda and Baranchik. They put on a great performance. I believe there was 8 official knockdowns. Should have been 9. There wasn't much in the form of excitement that you could ask, much more that you could ask from a fight than that. It wasn't real technical, so I agree with Javier on that point. If I was going to go with a more technical fight, I probably would go with Estrada versus Cuadras 2. That was an outstanding fight for the people who actually watched it.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize either is the fight ended in a knockout, but the fighter who won by knockout was knocked down like seconds before he got the knockout. So that's how crazy that fight is. Next 2020 category we have, guys, is one of my personal favorites, always has been. We got the comeback fighter of the year. Shakira, we're going to start off with you. Who is your pick for comeback fighter of the year?
Oh, I mean, I forgot who I said on Malachi's show. I can't remember who I said. So, I mean, this time when you said comeback fight of the year, I was going to probably say, I don't know. Well, I didn't like Spence last time. I liked someone else. So, but this time, the first thing that came in mind, well, I was thinking Fury did come back and just, totally destroy Wilder. So, I mean, that's a pretty big comeback if you consider the fact that, he was knocked out in the first fight. I'm laughing because so many want to say he wasn't, right, Malachi?
Yeah, but I mean, that first fight was a draw anyway, so it did end in a draw. But he did come back strong in that fight, but then he didn't fight the rest of the year. To me, there's other fighters in that category that I would give it to. But Malachi, I know you have a strong opinion here with your boy. Go ahead and let the team know who your choice was and why.
Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. They had put this man in a coffin. They had nailed him shut. Max Kellerman said he was a shot fighter, that we'd never see him at the championship level again. And he went out there and not only won a championship, but defended it in 2020. All due respect to Errol Spence. No one was actually, we would have needed to see him fail versus Danny Garcia to throw him in a coffin the way they threw Chocolatito in a coffin. So my comeback fighter of the year was Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez.
Javi?
Yeah, I will go with him, or that was my first option. I was also thinking about Nonito Donaire, and that's how she goes to the last question as well, because that was a good fight, and they went back and forth. But Nonito, he every 3-4 years he put himself on the map again. He comes and he lets you know, like, I'm still around.
Yeah.
All right. So Lucas, who is your choice?
Well, originally I was gonna go with Errol Spence. I mean, the guy that rolled his car, got put in the hospital, comes back and actually fights a grade A welterweight You know, that's hard to pass up. But I'm actually going to go with Joe Smith Jr. He lost to Bivol in 2019. Since then, he's got wins over Hart and Alvarez. So, I mean, he made 2020 his bitch. I mean, it's a good fight. Good fighter. And, you know, Joe Smith Jr. is one of those blue-collar guys, so he gets overlooked a lot. So, Joe Smith Jr. for me.
No, that's a great choice, and that is one that's really well overlooked. My choice, I thought we had some good selections here. You could argue that Chocolatito won. You could say Spence won because he came back from a car accident, although I don't put him in the category because he didn't actually have a defeat. You could even argue with Regis Prograis. You know, he came out and looked really good, but he only had the one fight this year. But he's trying to make another name for himself. There are these fighters that did show up and fight that had a loss and came back with flying colors. But the issue to me is that it's COVID. So like I said, we only really seen one or two fights for our big fighters, and even the guys who came back didn't fight the greatest opposition. Now, Joe Smith Jr. did a great job. I agree with that one. But the other guys that we can mention, it wasn't real serious bouts. It wasn't huge comebacks like we think of when we come to a comeback fighter of the year. So I gave it to your boy Iron Mike Tyson. Come on, Iron Mike. For the comeback after 20 years being out of the ring, he came back and he showed in strong flying colors. He's back, y'all.
See, statements like that makes me want to do 2021, take the show back from you. Man,
Wow.
Look, I don't get me wrong. Of course, everybody loves Iron Mike. Everybody loved to see him in the ring. I would even make that maybe event of the year. But a comeback fighter, no. I mean, I can't do that.
What about Sergio Martinez? I heard he went back fighting again.
Yeah, I think he won his fight by knockout too.
Yeah,
he did, but it was somewhere overseas still. It was still in Venezuela,
No,
I believe.
But you said it. You said nobody fighting big fights, but Roman fought an undefeated world champion, a former Olympian.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and that's Malachi's argument, and I understand that, but he didn't fight Roman Visal again.
Mate, you
know what I'm
guys
saying? Why not avenge that loss to Roman Visal? He didn't fight him.
You know,
Estrada's coming up this year.
I'm trying to get a consensus so that we can actually award one person the damn award, but it's all over the place. This one topic is all over the place. I think everything else so far, we've kind of narrowed it down. I think we may even narrow it down for knockout, but comeback is going to be hard for us to narrow down, guys.
Yeah.
So, to be honest, if I had to choose a fighter in this category,
that's not Iron Mike Tyson.
Just to go with the panel, Joe Smith Jr. had two good wins. He really did, and it was overlooked. And those are two solid wins in that division. And he came back and knocked out his last opponent. I would give it to him.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we can move on from comeback.
So next topic, guys, and this one might be unanimous. I don't think we've seen a person come out of here in this category like we've seen this year. But top prospect of the year. We'll start with me. I'm gonna go with with Berlanga. Yeah. You got to go with Berlanga, guys. He not only was the top prospect this year. He has a hell of a knockout streak, so he has history on the line. But he actually is up on undercards now on all these fights. Like all the big stars want him on the undercard right now, and he fought like 4 or 5 times this year. So you got to give him Prospect of the Year award in my book, Lucas.
I definitely had Berlanga up there. My only problem is, has he really shown anything with the opposition that he's faced? I don't know, but during the COVID and, the first initial release of boxing after it came back, that's really all there was to talk about was Edgar Berlanga, and he fought quite often. So he is the most talked about prospect, I think, of the year. That's not to say he's the only prospect, but I think
I don't know if does most talked about count as
yes and no.
prospect of the year. Like,
I mean, I don't mind you
pick.
questioning it. Yeah, I don't mind you questioning it, but who else would you put in that category?
What's the other kid's name? Is Edwin
Elvis?
Rodriguez?
Yeah.
Elvis Rodriguez.
Elvis Rodriguez.
The kid's a beast.
That-
He has an argument.
That was my choice, actually. I'm sold on that kid, man.
Go ahead, Javi, speak on it.
No, yeah, I was going with Malika. It's definitely that kid, Elvis Rodriguez. I'm telling you guys, get on the wagon now, 2021, because that kid is gonna be trouble. And he's 140. He's probably gonna come up 147 a year or maybe less than that.
That's another. I'm excited about that because the other prospects were. Let's see, we got Ennis Boots and we got Virgil Ortiz still hanging around. Like, that's new to that division. So if Elvis moves up to welterweight soon, I mean that's just gonna be like they're gonna start taking over that division again in another cycle, you know, of great names in that division. So
now I'm gonna
up there too, though. I mean, I always like the knockout artists.
Yeah, I took Belanga. Belanga was my prospect of the year, but I went back the other day and looked, and I really watched some more of Elvis, and I was like, I don't know if I made the right decision officially, but I'll stick with Berlanga for now. But I really came away after I really sit down and studied him. I like Elvis.
All right. What about?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Okay.
Luke.
That's all right.
I was going to mention that Berlanga was the one that was able to fight the most out of those prospects this year, I believe. Like, I believe he was able to get in the most work. So that also makes it where he's going to stick out in our minds. But Elvis is a great backup.
There's another guy that put a lot of work in as a prospect this year. What's the kid?
I was gonna say somebody. Maybe I'm thinking of the
Clay
same person.
Collard.
No.
Clay Collard.
Yeah.
Clay Collard
No,
put a lot. If we're gonna say like just how many fights you get in a year,
Yeah.
it makes you the prospect. Clay Collard fought the most of anybody. But he's also got his 2 losses. But I think I was a little more impressed with his opposition because they brought him in as the guy to lose, and he just wasn't losing. He was beating undefeated prospects right and left.
Maybe prospect, maybe contender now. Isaac Cruz Gonzalez.
Okay.
With his stoppage win of Diego Magdaleno in the first round. Diego Magdaleno is a solid fighter. Stopping him in the first round is a big freaking statement.
Oh, that's true.
Well, and I'm gonna say something about somebody else who nobody has mentioned yet, but you're gonna be surprised because he's one of the little guys. What about Minnie Tyson? Remember him? Minnie Tyson?
No. What's his real name?
Can we just say Minnie Tyson? Expect us all to know who you're talking about.
He was on the card earlier. He was on the undercard. Hold on a sec.
I think I know who you're talking about. I just can't remember. It's in like lighter weight.
Was he an Asian
Yeah,
guy?
he's very lighter weight. No, I believe he's Hispanic.
Oh, okay. Then that's not who I'm thinking.
Man, I'll come back to that later. But man, he had when you Google him or YouTube and put him on YouTube, you'll remember who I'm talking about. But he's a hell of a prospect too, knockout artist at that, and he's at the lower weights coming up.
That's funny because there's a female that's coming up too, and I saw her fight twice, and she was just destroying people, and they call her Little Tyson too. So yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing both of these guys, these people that you're talking about.
I wonder if he's with Robert Garcia. Robert.
He might be with Robert Garcia. I don't think that's his official nickname either, though. I think that's what they kind of nicknamed him after all these knockouts.
Well, we might just have to move on from that.
Yeah,
we can move on from that, but for the fact that, wait a minute, am I getting this straight? Rob, you're telling us that you like somebody under 130. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, I do. I like this the guy they call Minnie Tyson. Man, I wish I knew his name. Fans, if you know his name.
No, I know it's the monster. He's not a prospect.
Yeah, no. If you know this guy out there, please chime in and let us know.
I don't know anybody named Minnie Tyson.
But man, I believe he was on the undercard, maybe of the Charlo, something like that. I'm not sure. We can move on.
Yeah.
I'll find it. Before I go into the next one, though, I did because I actually should have put this on the list and I didn't. But let's go ahead and go into the most people's favorite category. But let's do the knockout of the year, KO of the year. This one might also be unanimous, but I'm interested in seeing because we had a few. Or Lucas?
Oh, I don't think anybody can pick anything other than Gervonta Davis knocking out Leo Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz has got a chin, and the way that he did it was just, oh my God. I had to cover my kid's eyes, like, don't look. It was a bad knockout, man.
So that's who I had. Of course, is Gervonta Tank Davis. And I'm going to say it again. I've said it before. Anytime you knock your opponent out and he has that type of facial expression at the end of it, even Leo Santa Cruz knew that was the knockout of the year, okay? He was happy to receive that knockout.
Oh, my goodness.
Shakur, is that who you have? Or do you have one of Berlanga's or anybody else on the list?
I had Zapata's knockout. I thought that was a huge KO to end that fight. And he was out for a while, too. And his leg was all bent up underneath him and everything. I can, remember seeing him just collapse in that KO. So that was my top pick. I think it's a little bit less exciting for me for Tank just because we kind of all expected that to happen in that fight at some point, and the way they were going at each other, I was anticipating it. Whereas with the Zapata KO, it was like, what was that? So I had a little bit more shock value. So I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, my wife covered her mouth when Zapata got that knockout. She was, oh God, is he okay? I'm like, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Javi, knockout of the year. I think I know where you're going to go. You're on mute.
My bad. Knockout of the year. I kind of want to go with the Cepeda one because of the back and forth action. But I think I'm going to go with the Tank, man. Definitely. I'm going to go with the Tank one.
Malachi, is it going to be a consensus in on this?
No, I'm taking Povetkin knocking out Dillian White for KO of the year.
I almost forgot about that one, man.
And, no knockout was more dramatic, and we came in a fight in which Povetkin had been dropped twice. The entire fight looked like it was White's to win, and out of nowhere, Povetkin dips, catches him with an uppercut, and just the way he went out was he just went flat as a board, and he knew he was out right after he got punched, you know. So Tank Davis knockout was exciting, but I expected that. I figured the only way Davis wins that fight is by knocking him out, and I figured he would catch him at some point. The Povetkin fight too, we got to remember Povetkin was outweighed by more than 30 pounds. So, you know, it's a little bit different where Tank's the bigger guy knocking out the littler guy, and here you got a guy outweighed by 30 pounds. It's, you know, dropping the guy. So that's why I'm going with that.
Yeah.
Remember your guest, Gail, she was talking about a lot of uppercuts was finishing fights in 2020.
No, they did. If you go back and look, Anthony Joshua, you go look. Well, I don't think he actually finished that fight with an uppercut, but he dropped him like 3 times with an uppercut before finishing him off. There were a lot of fights ended with uppercuts this year.
Canelo used a lot of them against Callum Smith. So, yeah, it was definitely the year of the uppercut. We're going to move on to the next topic, but I remember who they was calling Mini Tyson now. Lucas already mentioned the name. It was Isaac Cruz.
Isaac Cruz, okay.
Yeah, his nickname actually is Pit Bull, but they were trying to dub him as Mini Tyson. He has 20 wins, 15 of them KOs.
He's on my friends list. I need to reach out to him.
Man, anybody that has not watched the Magdaleno fight, they got to watch it. I mean, Magdaleno is a seasoned veteran fighter, and he just, I mean, handled him in the first round. Yeah. I mean, it's brutal. Watch it.
So that going to our next topic, guys, is one that me and Lucas love, and that's the most feared fighter right now for 2020. Who do we think our most feared fighter is? Shakur, you laughing? You got one already? You want to get off your chest?
No, I'm just trying to think. Like, okay, feared as in, like avoided, like nobody's trying to fight them right now, or
exactly
feared as in, everybody knows just good night if you get in there with them. Like, I'm trying to figure out which one am I going with as far as fear factor.
Well, I had 3 candidates for mine that I wanted to go with just to give you perspective. But for me, in my opinion, Charlo brother, especially the 168-pound Charlo, nobody wants to get in the ring with him. He's been calling them all out. Nobody wants to see him. Caleb Plant, a lot of people have been ducking that kid a lot lately, trying to give him 2 weeks notice or something like that before they pick a fight with him. And Benavidez. Nobody has mentioned Benavidez in 2020 going into 2021 or even called the kid out. And he's a former title holder that lost the title on the scale. That's who my pick is. I think everybody is avoiding Benavidez and for good measure. The kid has some heavy pop. He talks the talk and he walks it. I think Benavidez is the most feared in boxing right now.
I am so shocked right now because as much as you love Tank, I just knew you were about to say Tank Davis was one of those 3. I am shocked right now. But I see you went with the 168, super middleweight kind of zone as those avoided fighters. That is one of the divisions where it doesn't seem like we can actually get the best to fight the best. So I'm gonna skip over that particular division right now. I would say that Bud Crawford is still pretty avoided.
And that's what Mark Anthony just commented not that
Oh, is it really? Yep. Mark, what's up, man? So yeah, that's who I think is avoided. I mean, we could go down the weight classes too, and see. I think T.O. might be a little bit more avoided as well at lightweight right now. One because of the size, but also because he slayed the real dragon.
So Malachi, looks like you got something you want to say. Do you want to add to that?
I would say Bud Crawford, but I don't. You said Caleb Plant. He's fighting Caleb Truax, and if he wins that fight, he's going to get Canelo. So nobody's ducking him.
Well, on what notice? Because every time they try to offer the man
he's on notice now that you beat Caleb Truax, you're going to fight Canelo. Canelo already said he wants to fight him.
We shall see.
Yeah,
Mark Anthony's.
You got a lot of confidence in these guys talking to each other. Like, I mean, you got an inside scoop that we need to know about.
I mean, that's supposedly been the case for a while, but when they come back to him, it's always like, you got like 4 weeks, man. But it is what it is. Mark Anthony commented towards you, Rob. He said, "Bro, how do you not mention Bud but mention the Charlo?" Thank you, Sakura.
So can I defend my?
Yeah, I'm gonna give mine, and then I'll let you defend yourself.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Because for me, it's Beterbiev. I mean, he didn't even get a fight in 2020. So I think he's being avoided. You're looking at the top guys in the division. I don't think Canelo's going to fight him anytime soon. I don't think Kovalev, Joe Smith Jr. might not fight him anytime soon. So Beterbiev is avoided and will continue to be avoided.
All right, Hobby. We kind of across all over the place on this category too a little bit. But let's see if Hobby mentions any of the names we mentioned.
Well, to me, it was Lomo the God until Lopez did what he had to do. But now I will go with Better Be It. Definitely.
Okay, that's the only one who got double picks. The reason why I went with Benavidez and guys like that and not Bud Crawford is because Bud Crawford needs to take on more fights. If you want to say that you're the most avoided over there, jump ship, go to where you need to be, where you can get those fights. And then if they still don't want to fight you, then I'll say you're being avoided.
He's being avoided.
But for now,
they don't even recognize him as champion.
He's not putting himself in a position to be avoided.
He's being avoided. The whole everybody in PBC is avoiding him, but oh man,
except for Sean Porter, I would say.
And well, he priced himself out on that one. So even then, when they're trying to, Crawford did kind of, shoot himself in the foot. Now, that may not have been him. Again, I just meant him and his team. So whatever offer was sent out. That $1 million, I'm saying that's a low ball offer. But let's see. Mark Anthony also said, oh, Boo Boo also. So talking about Demetrius Andrade.
That's true.
Andrade has been avoided for a while now, but the issue I have with guys
and
like that
are two different things, though, because I don't think anybody's really afraid of Demetrius. It's more of like you're not worth the money, so it is a big risk, very little reward.
He could have fought one of the Charlos already.
Yeah,
he backed out of one of those fights, man. I have a hard time saying he's avoided when I know he backed out of a fight.
Many years ago, though, that was before either Charlo was even at, either one of the Charlos was at middleweight. Like, that was a long time ago.
But you can't tell me they're avoiding him when they offered him a fight.
Yeah, but he was having contract issues at that time. It was more
management. Yeah,
but the fight.
But to me, him saying that he's the most feared fighter out there as opposed to being avoided,
I ain't gonna say. I never said most. I didn't say
it's like Gary Russell Jr. thinking he's the most avoided fighter out there when he only fights once a year. So
I don't think it's that of issue.
Let's go to the next topic then.
Rob, I got to go to the comments, though, because one's directed at you. Mark Anthony commented again. Rob, what do you mean he needs to get more fights? The guy is fighting who he can because PBC is hiding their fighters from him.
That's a fact.
But PBC said, come to us. Drop your promoter. Do something with your promoter and come to us. Granted, he might have a contract. Okay, I understand that part. The contract is near ending. Okay, or you could have went the Mikey Garcia route and that way you got yourself out the contract. But put yourself in a position to fight those fights. If you were in that position, then you can say
I agree and I disagree because you should not have to leave a promotion to get the fight. You shouldn't. But at the same point, you know how well Top Rank and how many, welterweights Top Rank has for you to offer you. So maybe it would be in your best interest to leave. I definitely see what you say, and I've said that before. I think it is in his best interest to leave Top Rank. But should he really have to? No. Not necessarily.
So that leads to our next one, though.
I think the same thing about Benavidez at 168 then. I mean, a lot of the people that he needs to fight is not with PBC as well. I mean, you got him and Caleb Plant. Who else is at PBC for him to fight?
No. Benavidez had the belt. Again, he lost it on the scales. Nobody called him out when he was a belt holder. Nobody's being called. They don't even mention his name. They won't even mention his name out there. And he was a belt holder.
For him to move up and be playing with the boys that's, around his same size.
I think he moved up to 175, didn't he?
Well, that would
make
sense to me. That would make a lot more sense to me. I mean, if somebody that is that much larger or bigger than the other boxers in that division, are they really being ran for, or do people just realize like this guy's way bigger than us?
So then that leaves
that's my problem with Benavidez. Really, that's my main problem with him. Is like he's just so much larger than the other boxers at that weight class to me.
Which actually leads us into the next category because fighters fight, but who makes the fight? Promoters.
Okay, I can't. Hang on. Mark, continue. Rob, you killing me with the laughing face. Killing me today with this BS. Top Rank is fulfilling the responsibility. Why would he leave to go to the enemy? What is hiding the fighters from him?
So let's go with promoter of the year. This might answer your question, but let's go to promoter of the year. Let's start down here with Javi. Javi's been quiet for a little while. I want to get him in the mix. Javi, who is your top promoter this year?
Promoter of the year?
Yeah.
I don't know. That guy's not gonna agree with me, but I'm gonna have to go with Bob.
I agree
with you.
I back you. I back you, Javi.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of helped with everything coming back. Also, he brought boxing back from the COVID layoff.
No pay-per-views.
He put on two of his money fighters with Tio and Loma against each other too. So I mean that's what's up. Yeah, that's what's up.
So Lucas, Javi, Malachi, you going with Top Rank?
Mark commented and he's agreeing too. He goes with Top Rank. Sorry to cut you off.
I'm going with Top Rank. No problem. I'm going with Top Rank too. I agree with Javi and Lucas. That for me, that was the biggest fight of 2020 was Loma and Lopez. And then there was also the Maloney 1 versus Franco. That was an excellent fight. It wasn't a lot early on, particularly in COVID, a lot of great matchups, but we got to see some fighters like Berlanga really march through some people and give us an idea. I thought Bob did an excellent job. So I'm going to go with Bob.
Shakur?
I'm finding myself hard to it's none of them really sticking out of my mind. I mean, I like to say all of them because they were able to give us fights this year that we really, in the beginning of COVID, didn't think we would have any boxing. I mean, Bob did his part. He cleared like a little strategic path for people to follow. Then I felt like DAZN did a good job. So that's Matchroom mostly and Golden Boy. And then PBC also gave us some good. I love that double hitter with the Charlo brothers. That was my favorite out of the bunch. The fights they did. So, I mean, I really don't think that there's any losers in that particular category. So I really don't.
What put it over for me with Top Rank was more giving back. So we got Bud on ESPN, we got Loma and Tio on ESPN. So we got boxing back to more eyeballs. We're giving it back to the poor.
Yeah.
So we're not doing these PBC pay-per-views. Okay, that's what I don't appreciate.
Yeah.
And to put it in perspective, to narrow down my choice, that PBC did come through with some pay-per-views, and to me they failed miserably because they didn't put together a great card, and it wasn't heavily picked up by the fans. It didn't go heavy within the fans either. Even though the Charlo brothers gave us two good presentable matchups, those pay-per-view numbers didn't do much, if any at all, to help patent their star status. So that's what happened with PBC. DAZN tried to put together a nice little roster, but they also failed miserably because they failed to get Canelo a good star-studded fight early on in the year to be able to combat with anything. And they try to pour it on late in the year, but they didn't come through with good matchups at all, and they didn't come through with good cards. The cards that they put together were god awful as far as undercards go. That being said,
I like the zone cards with Matchroom because they had a lot of ladies fights.
Yeah, there's some good women boxing going on over there.
Yeah, like they brought a lot of ladies into it that would have otherwise probably not even been put on cards.
Which goes to show you why they had the lackluster undercards right there. They had
some of them ladies were undercards.
Wait a minute. So you're thinking that so a Brackus and a McCaskill that's lackluster for you? I mean, what would be unlackluster for you with
Yeah,
female?
well, if they were both men, it'd be different. But we
If
not
I'm
I
going
just
there.
bringing up one
pursue,
fight that they had. They had Katie Taylor pursue
yeah.
too as well. I mean,
And then there was the
I
two ladies
They
that went to war. It was either the card before the Ryan Garcia card or the one before that one. There was two young ladies. Marshall was on there on their card.
yeah,
There was some very good women boxers on those undercards
yeah.
for Dazin.
that being said, y'all missed my whole where I was going there. I got to give it to top ranking Bob Arum as well for promoter of the year. As much as I hate to, I have to give it to Top Rank because Lucas is right. He not only was the first promoter to premiere boxing back on prime time, but all of his shows were prime time and they were high caliber fights that we wanted to see, probably the best fights. And he had the fight of the year on a Top Rank on ESPN. So you got to give it to Bob Arum.
I just
This
always would want to know what the numbers would have looked like, just to have a comparison situation if that Lomachenko versus Teofimo fight had been pay-per-view. Like, I'm just curious just to know like where the fans were at, as far as what they were willing to pay for or not.
I think they
I
would have
mean,
done better
I mean,
than
I
any
thought
of
it was
them.
like really good, like, I was hoping, or I'm thinking in my mind that it would still be a hellified amount of people watching. But I
Yeah.
just like to see, engage, because boxing fans, we real cheap right now. Like, we were real cheap before COVID even came off about what we wanted to pay for and not want to pay for. So, that's just a curiosity of mine.
I miss the days when Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather were really the only two pay per view draws. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't really think a lot of them are worth it. I mean, you're already paying DAZN, you got to have a subscription to ESPN, you got to have a subscription to ESPN Plus, possibly. And the list goes on. So, yeah, I mean, it was originally a poor man's sport, so I would love to see it just go back to at least cable TV and stop with all these pay per views. I miss HBO nights, Saturday, Showtime After Darks, and all
Friday
that.
Night Fights was
Yeah.
I love Friday Night
We're-
Fights on
And,
ESPN.
and we're missing that, see, and that just completely went away. And now everybody's expecting all these pay per views, and it's just like, no.
And you know what? I share your sentiment though, Sakura, because I would love to see how this Ryan Garcia numbers are doing. You know what I'm saying? Just because I want to see if he actually can translate all those followers, all this social media, clout, like they call it, the cool kids, and bring it into the sport. And if see how many of those followers are actually supporting you that way, or they just want to see the highlights
Right.
on IG and stuff like
well,
that.
I mean, apparently AJ did what, like 600,000 or something like that views on DAZN.
Yeah, he was up there. Like, I mean, that was the best one out of the bunch. But then again, it's kind of hard when you don't have nobody to validate them numbers. When it comes to the zone, those numbers are not public knowledge. It's just what they're telling you it was. My thing about it is that we did have PPC like a year to 2 years ago trying to do these fights on free TV, and it just still didn't garner the type of numbers that we thought it was. I think Thurman, with one of his fights, either the Sean Porter fight, I think it was, that was one that had high numbers, and the one with Danny Garcia, for when they were trying to just put big names on regular channels. So I mean, that made everybody after them kind of reluctant to try to do something similar. I mean, and they tried different channels, remember, guys? They tried different networks too, so I don't know if we still don't have the boxing fans interest enough to try to demand that everything be on free TV.
See, I don't know about that. I think Fox was underutilized and still is underutilized by PBC. And yeah, they did throw some fights out there, but it really wasn't big, heavy-hitting names. I mean, you got to give us a Garcia, Loma, something of that nature from PBC and welterweight division, and they will get the ratings. I believe they will get the ratings, if not better, because that is straight local channels. You don't need no cable. You don't need none of that. Everybody's got local channels.
Keith Thurman did big numbers versus Danny Garcia, and as she stated, and Sean Porter on CBS.
But that was like 2 years ago.
But what I'm saying is, we saw them try to transition and have some fights, big fights, on free TV before, and it didn't profit well because the viewership was still not there. And then we saw this summer series this very summer that did not do very well either. And we were all stuck at home then. Everybody was on lockdown and they still weren't watching. So it's some keys to success that we are clearly missing.
I mean, it could be underpromoted. I mean, yeah.
There were matchups when they put Keith Thurman versus Porter and Keith Thurman versus Danny Garcia on CBS. They did big numbers. So the problem, what is the matchups that PBC were presenting? A lot of people weren't appetizing to the casual fan.
Right. I mean, like you said,
they got to know who you are.
Right. Out of maybe like, and
all
of the ones that they did, they've had 2 cards that actually had named fighters.
But the casuals at that point, when those 2 fights were going on, it's not like they were heavily familiar with a Keith Thurman and a Sean Porter either, or a Danny Garcia. So that's why I'm saying is like it's another key to the puzzle. But one of them is marketing that you're saying, Lucas. One of them is just the marketing of these fights.
Yeah, I mean, nobody really markets boxing well. Like I said, I mean, big fights come up all the time, and nobody can ever even hear about it. Shit, it even slips by us sometimes because, nobody even says anything. So it is definitely not promoted well. Mark commented and says, guys, the YouTubers brought boxing back, so they sold the most with laughing faces. Just kidding. So.
Yeah, I mean, I recall back in 2008 for Devin Alexander's last fight with Andre Berto, that had one of the biggest numbers for that year for PBC on cable, and those were 2 names that really were out of it, in terms of that. Moving on, though, let's go to a few. We just down to our few last categories here. So our next one, we're going to go with Trainer of the Year. This one should be unanimous, but we'll see. We'll start with Malachi at the bottom here. Malachi.
It's Derek James for me. Derek, both his fighters showed out in 2020. Errol answered all the questions we had about him after the car crash. Charlo looked spectacular in unifying 154. I don't see anyone else. All due respect to Teofimo's dad. He's done an excellent job with Teofimo, but I still got to give it to Derek James.
Javi?
I'm going to have to go with Reynoso, man. Eddie Reynoso.
I know it.
You know what I'm saying? What he's been doing to Ryan, we see some flaws in Ryan still, but he's been improving a lot more. What he's, how he took Canelo from basically this kid fighting to like the champion, big superstar that he is. Sometimes it's like you get these coaches where they have this big fighter and they just, help them reach their full potential. Then you have these trainers that take these fighters out of nowhere and build them from the ground up and make them, elite superstars fighters. So I'm gonna go with Reynoso.
Shakur?
I did go with Reynosa, but I'm rethinking it a little bit, guys, just because of what I saw in the corner with the Garcia fight, and it was in Spanish, and the zone didn't give us our interpreter. You know what I'm saying, for the corner, but I had found out that I just quickly text James Dominguez, and I was like, "Hey, what are they saying?" And he was like, "He's telling them that he's fine, that everything is going well." And I was like, "What?" So I was like, "Now, why would he be doing this?" Now I'm gonna keep it Reynosa just because of the fact that I just like the amount of fighters that they're starting to get in their staple, and they're all showing improvements. But I mean, I am not for this trainer that gets in the corner, and I don't know if he felt like Ryan was nervous or not, but don't tell him he's doing great. You know what I'm saying? I'm not for that. Another trainer that really surprised me when he did that in a corner was Cunningham, because I was like, how is he telling Broner that everything is good and he winning? Like, like that shocked me because he's known to be so strict with his boxers. So, I'm not that. I don't like that yes type of trainer. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just praying that he was just doing that to try to make Garcia calm down and not be so hyper and everything. But I didn't like what I heard in that corner. But for the fact that he has a bunch of different fighters in that staple now, that all seem to be doing a lot better now that they're with that group or that team. I still would go with him.
Lucas.
Well, Mark Anthony commented again. He says Canelo's trainer, whatever his name is. We're talking about Eddie Reynoso again. So, yeah, I agree. Definitely should be up there. Derek James, though, I think wins out. I mean, Ryan Garcia is still so technically flawed. Like, I know he's had, two or three fights now.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like some of those things should have been corrected. Yeah, I get it. I mean, Luke Campbell was an Olympian, gold medal winner, but he did make him look pretty bad at times. Yes, he got the knockout win, but there are still some glaring flaws. He is naturally gifted, and that is nothing that the trainer actually put forth. So I'm going to have to lean towards Derek James.
Apologize for my team, everybody, because you're hearing a lot about Ryan Garcia. That was 2021 already. This is from back in 2020. But Derek James.
So I guess you got to go with Derek James.
Derek James, hands down, what he did with Charlo, how he brought back Errol Spence. He did a hell of a job in that regards. I don't believe in putting somebody as a trainer of the year just because of who he has in the stable and how they're looking in training camp. I want to see the proof in the ring. Derek James's fighters have done that. And you got to give an honorable mention to Gervonta Tanks Davis trainer. He got the boy in shape this time. He got him in a real training camp. He prepared him the best he could. In the outcome, Tank, number one, made the weight, and number two, he looked really good at defending himself in the ring. But you got to give it to Derek James.
Him in there with a lot of new talent too that were really special or seemed to be special. So you got a good point there with him.
Mark commented, Sakura, he told him everything is fine. After the knockdown, he told him correct. He didn't want Ryan to worry about the knockdown. Then we have another comment from YouTube, a Mr. Dickinson, that says, Luke Skywalker was a Grandmaster Jedi. I think you are in the wrong podcast, my friend.
I was thinking, while they were mentioning Canelo's trainer, and I was thinking, well, that Garcia fought in 2021. If we're gonna stay that, Ishmael Salas, Kazuto Ioka's trainer, he actually two of his fighters won world titles as underdogs this year. So it was still 2020 in America when he upset Koshi Tanaka. But it was 2021 in Japan. But I got to give him a shout out. He it's pretty special when you take two underdogs to world titles.
Yeah, and somebody owes me a shout out too, because I was the only one that predicted that winner.
No, I predicted it too, but y'all don't
say
I
Oh, okay. Well,
all right, guys.
I will give Sakara a shout out, but I don't recall you even talking about that fight.
I did. It's okay. Guys, the big one. Let's end on the big one here soon. Fighter of the year for 2020. Again, we do have to put the disclaimer. It was COVID. So, like I said, most of our favorite fighters fought once, if not at all. In a normal season, they would fight at least twice, if not three times. But that being said, we'll start with we'll start again with Malachi, who's the 2020 Fighter of the Year.
There's only one choice, only one reasonable choice, and it's Teofimo Lopez. A lot of people had Loma as the number one pound for pound fighter on this panel. So for what the way he went out there, he dominated him by boxing him, outboxed him, and took all his belts. He did exactly what his daddy said he was going to do. So I don't think there's any choice but Teofimo Lopez.
Javi, you're on mute again, buddy. Javi over there just talking away.
My bad. I want to go with Logan Paul and Jake Paul, but
God damn it! I about spit out water all over the place.
Wow.
nah. You guys. I mean, for the people that have been watching the show, y'all know how big I was on Loma. I still am. I haven't I haven't write off the man like 80% of boxing did.
Right.
But yeah, I will go with Lopez, man. He definitely said he was gonna take over. He took over. He told us exactly how it was gonna be the plan: stay undefeated, win the championship of his 15th fight, then on after the big man, which was Loma. He did it just like that. He delivered way more than what we expected. Definitely, man, fighter of the year.
Shakur?
I went with Jessica McCaskill, the new unified world champion at welterweight, beating like a 10 to 12 year, McCaskill from Chicago, Lucas's zone.
That's also upset of the year in my book. Nobody expected that win. Other than, I mean, that would be the female version of Teofimo. I would agree. I think Teofimo is also upset of the year, just like McCaskill would. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hitchhike. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say, like, Teo's gonna always get his credit, so why not give this female boxer her just dues on the female side? I feel like McCaskill really had Brackus looking kind of like weary and like, what is going on? I have never seen her look like that before. I went back and I had watched one fight with McCaskill with Chevelle Hallback, and that was in Germany. And I think that was the only other fight that, she really didn't. If she'd have been fighting in the U.S., she wouldn't have won that fight or anywhere else besides Germany. But I mean, for McCaskill to come along and she got all those titles. And I mean, I am looking forward to that rematch as well. So I hope that everybody doesn't sleep on this female fight that's coming up in this new year. I did like Tio, though, for Fighter of the Year. I just think, and I know I'm going to be the only one, because I did predict that he was going to beat Lomachenko, but it was because of age and, just the fact that I never liked Lomachenko at that weight class. So I just feel like there's still some questions that Tio needs to be answering, because when Lomachenko did decide to actually fight, towards the end of the fight, we saw some things come up. But I mean, you be tired after all them damn shots. He was actually throwing a lot of punches that entire fight and really outpointing Lomachenko in the beginning. So the thing about Lomachenko, I wanted to say, Javi, because I know you disappointed that everybody is not like he's the god, but he got some god in him still. Because I feel like if he drops back down to super featherweight, I feel like he's still a lot of problems for a lot of people, except for Shakur Stevens. Shakur Stevenson. Sorry. So don't feel too bad, Hobby.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of hitchhiked and kind of gave mine away. I think it is Teofimo Lopez for the most part. But for Lady Fight of the Year, I would also go with Jessica McCaskill. But Teofimo, I mean, he won arguably the biggest fight, possibly upset of the year. So, you know, I don't, and against a pound for pound fighter, I don't really think anything can really top that. So yeah, I agree. Let's see, Mark Anthony. I think this was on the last thing Robbie said. Dang, Rob, I have to agree with you with this on this one. This is so bad for me to agree with you. Is like me agreeing with Chip Bayless. Then he said Lopez for sure.
Wow. He
Yeah,
sounds like me. I hate when I agree with Rob.
Make it unanimous. Teofimo Lopez, guys. He transcended himself into a superstar just by this one bout. And it's not really it's not only just taking that fight, but it's the way he won it. He completely won it hands down with no argument other than Lomachenko, and Lomachenko's biased because he thinks he won the fight. But let's face it, everybody said Teo won the fight hands down, and he earns the Fighter of the Year trophy. It's the biggest. Like Lucas said, you could arguably say that could be one of the biggest upsets this whole entire year. That could be one of the biggest upsets ever, depending upon how great Momo really is. We don't know.
The one thing I don't like about it is he just basically is not in refusing for Lomachenko to get a rematch. Now, in no way am I saying he owes it to him, but I think a true champ defends, and if he wants to run it back, you know, somebody should say, you know, run it back. I'm taking on all comers, but instead it was more like nope, he ain't getting a rematch.
Well,
that's because Loma refused the rematch clause. Loma's the one that was like, I don't want a rematch clause. Mm-hmm.
So Lopez is playing his own game. So it's like, so Loma made the mistake of talking about fighting somebody else after Lopez, before fighting Lopez. Loma was the one that started this whole no rematch thing. So now Lopez is telling him, now I'm playing your own game. You didn't want rematch, so why you want it now? Why are you talking rematch now? Now that's it. You know what I'm saying? I can't blame him for that. I want to see the rematch, to be honest. And I think Loma could win because we saw what happened after the second part of the fight. But, hey, you got caught up in your own game. And I was kind of disappointed when he started making all these mini Wilder excuses.
Oh, man, yeah. It was cringeworthy, wasn't it? I mean, that was pretty bad. All right.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he did go back and say, like, he went back on some of that craziness that he was talking, but he still feels like he won the fight, and there was a bias towards Teofimo Lopez. The only bias there was, dude, is that you didn't win the fight. Period.
I picked him to win, and I seen him lose. He lost. He lost that fight. So
he waited too long. He got gun shy, and not that he got gun shy, but Lopez made him gun shy.
Right, definitely.
All right, guys. Luke.
No, go ahead.
Last but not least, the upset of the year. We talked about several of them. I'll start it off, man. I think Povetkin was the upset of the year. He was down in the fight. He got knocked down. Everybody's talking about Dillian White trying to have a chance at fighting one of the heavyweight champions. They overlooked Povetkin. They overlooked him something bad. Even during the fight, he got knocked down. People were saying it's the end of him. It's Dillian White's time to shine, and one punch does it all.
I don't know. Didn't I pick Povetkin? I can't really call that one upset. For me, definitely McCaskill. I agree with Sakura. I think that's upset of the year for me.
Which one?
I think everybody McCaskill over Brackhouse.
Oh,
Brackus.
I always say that wrong. Brackhouse, whatever.
But that's.
I think everybody was doing that. I mean, it's either that or Lopez over Loma. I think
I
everybody was
agree
pretty
on
high
that
on
one.
Loma.
I mean, for the male part, I still feel like that Wilder fight, that was like a real upset.
Mm.
I mean, that was like a beatdown. Nobody was expecting him to get that demolished.
I agree on the outcome, but like for
Yeah,
most of
the
us, we
outcome.
believe Fury won the first fight, so it's not.
Yeah.
I can't call that upset.
Well, I'm not one of those people, right, Malachi? I believe like when you get knocked out and
He wasn't.
you're not coherent, you should be called out. But I mean, that's just me. What I'm basically saying is that even if he didn't lose that first fight, okay, and he was in this fight with Fury, I mean, I felt like Fury just he came at him differently, he acted differently through the fight, and it didn't take him long to start, really systematically breaking him down. I mean, it was just such a departure from how Wilder usually looks in a fight.
Well,
So
I'll
that's
give
why
you
I
this.
thought that was like, damn.
The knockout was surprising. I'll give you that. It really that was upsetting to see him take him out with a TKO like that. That was upsetting. Or,
It was a lot of people watching. It was a lot of people watching that fight that night. But they don't normally watch a heavyweight fight, and they just finally started realizing that there was an American champion. So that's what made it particularly bad for American boxing to me.
Yeah. Robert, to your question, for me, the upset of the year, that's one of my top, options. But I will go with the banana one. Nobody expected Banana to win against Rosario. I mean against Williams. So that kind of took us off guard. Kind of like when Broner upset Maidana upset Broner. But yeah, that to me that was. I was like, I think that was, to me personally, the upset of the year. Nobody saw that coming, and it was nice to see.
Okay.
Malachi, I think you already told us yours, right?
No, I'm going with. I agree with Lucas's McCaskill upsetting Barack because she was the longest reigning champion in boxing. I came out of the fight kind of thinking that Cecilia still won, but it was very close, and I can't call it a robbery or anything like that. Jessica did everything she needed to do to win the fight. I'm very excited about the rematch. So for me, that definitely was the upset of the year.
Okay. So, guys, that's all we have for the 2020 review. Looking forward,
Robert,
what is the... Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Before we go wrap up this whole thing, I just wanna 2 minutes because I wanna show this little particular thing about boxing. You know what I'm saying? And if this is the way 2021 boxing is gonna be, oh my God, we got a hell of a year, guys. Listen, I'm gonna show you. So I don't know if you guys can see it. I don't know if you guys can put it on the screen. That man right there, right, with that beautiful women. Listen, I'm gonna tell you guys something. Boxing fans or not, if you're a male, you ain't never made it in life until a beautiful woman, compliments you on your sperm. All right. Now, I don't know what was that all about. It was awkward as hell, but if that's gonna be 2021,
she meant DNA. She meant DNA. She meant like you got good DNA, you got good genetics. But instead, she said you got good sperm, and that's not good. That's not a good look.
All I'll tell you guys is this: if that's how boxing 2021 is gonna be, it's gonna be a lit. It's gonna be a lit year.
And that leads me to
Yeah.
that leads me to the next category for everybody. What is the thing you're most looking forward to in 2021 in terms of boxing? Shakura, go ahead.
Well, it is that right now it is the McCaskill versus Brackus rematch for the unified title at welterweight. That is one thing I'm looking forward to. Also on the male side, I am looking forward to seeing how these lightweights start matching up with each other towards the end of the year. So those are the two things that I'm most looking forward to. And then there is a third one, which is that I do want to see Bud get in there with at least one of the top 5 welterweights, guys. And I'm right now it's looking like it's going to be Sean Porter if they can get these negotiations started again for more than a mil. So those are my 3 top exciting picks.
Lucas.
I mean, that's pretty good. I was gonna say the 135 pounders for sure. I mean, there's such a mix that you can throw in there that they can all fight each other for a very long time. So 135, I think right now is maybe even more interesting than welterweights, and this hasn't been that way in a long time. However, I definitely would like to see Bud finally get a shot against like a Porter or I'll take anybody, okay, from PBC. Just Bud against PBC, okay? That's Bud against the world, basically. But there's great fights all over to be made. I really want to see, more than anything, promoters start working together, DAZN and these other apps, as well as, Showtime, all this come back. More than anything, what would make my 2021 the best is if HBO just came back and announced that they were doing boxing again. But I'm not holding my breath on that one.
So I do find it interesting that in these DAZN shows lately, a lot of these other cross-promotional stars have been there. You see Errol Spence at the last event. You've seen Teofimo Lopez. And I think that's something to look forward to, at least on that side of it. Before I say, well, I'll give what I'm looking forward to. And this might surprise some of y'all, but I'm really looking forward to 2 people. I'm looking forward to seeing Tyson Fury this year, because this should be the biggest year of his career. And I'm looking to see what Manny Pacquiao does this year. Those are 2 fighters in their division that people all are calling out. And it could be a very big year for both of those guys with some very big fights. And they have a lot to prove. I'm looking forward to them too. And then, of course, I'm looking forward to seeing the return of Money May, baby. Money Mayweather.
Oh, God.
Malachi.
I'm looking forward to March 13th. I've waited... It'll be 8 years for this rematch. That is Juan Carlos Estrada versus Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. Super stoked for that. Those of us who do watch the lower divisions and follow the lower divisions, we have been clamoring for that rematch for a very long time. Maybe it lost a little bit of its luster because of the losses that Roman has taken, but I think he's looked himself again in his last 2. Really looking forward to that fight, and at least I know that's going to happen. I'm with you on Tyson Fury, but I don't want to see him fight. I know he's going to fight a comeback fight, and it's not going to be someone big in the division. But I'm really hoping he gets in the ring with Anthony Joshua. I don't want to see him fight Wilder again this year. I want to see him fight AJ. I want to have one world champion in the heavyweight division by the end of 2021.
Guys, that's all I had. Anybody have anything else pressing to talk about before we let our fans go?
I would like to also see some better commentating. Most notably bad was Chris Mannix's scorecard. Sometimes commentating, he doesn't do a bad job, but I don't honestly go back through Heavy Bag Boxing and my tweets. There was one scorecard I cannot remember that was just god awful, and he definitely has been showing bias, at least with this last card. He hasn't always been bad, but man, I'm missing some presentation. That's why I want to see something else. Showtime needs to get back in there because that presentation is missed for sure.
Yeah, I don't know why they have one of these networks haven't picked up Roy Jones or Jim Lamley.
Right.
I think they can still bring some type of like that classic 90s and early 2000s vibe of boxing that we had. You know what I'm saying? Because we're lacking that, definitely. Some good commentators on unbiased. Andre Ward is great.
Yes.
This guy Chris Algieri is also great when he's doing the undercards. Sergio, I think Sergio Mora, the one on the Sun, he's great.
I like more.
Paulie was great, but Paulie just couldn't keep his words, I guess. So they had to Showtime let him go. Honestly, I'm still trying to warm up to Abner Maris, but maybe let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he needs a little more time, but I'm still not getting that, like, oh god, he's smooth on the mic, he explains it to the casuals well and everything. But for 2021, I'm expecting better commentator. I'm expecting these networks and to basically, I don't want to hear this bullshit like you're on the other side of the street, I'm on the side of the avenue. Now, listen, you're the fighter, the promoter worked for you. You can make things happen if you really want to. It's been shown. I want Canelo, now that he's on his own, to give us that fight. Now we're really gonna see if he's Oscar protecting him or is him, kind of, doing these moves. We're gonna see if he's talking about Caleb Plant and Benavides and all of this stuff for 2021. Then you know what? Then we're gonna see that Canelo wanted to go do things he was just not being able to. And I want to see more of more matchups like the ones that we had for free because of everything going on, because of the way that the boxing and everything in the sport world is becoming with the pandemic. But I don't want to see these bullshit pay-per-view cars where they're forcing you to buy things when you have great matchups in free cars. And I want to see this guy get touching that much. Yeah, marinate the thing a little bit. Don't over marinate it. We want to see the good matchups. We want to see the good boxing. Match these guys tough. No easy path for nobody. And that's it. Bring boxing back. Oh, no fucking YouTubers. Sorry.
No PBC made up belts. How about that?
Oh, yeah.
Create a
belt. The WBC with the new. I don't know if they're gonna do like a covered weight. They might come out with a covered weight. So I don't want to hit nothing with a WBC.
All right, guys, that is it.
Wow, that was a lot in a few minutes, Javi.
That is all we have for tonight, guys. For Heavy Bag Boxing Team, I'm Robert Alexander, your host. On behalf of Lucas Biggers, the rest of the team, Malachi with Danger Zone Boxing Talk. Y'all have a good night.